Welcome into another episode of First to the Floor. Ben Vallis here. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Wayne Spooney and Jake Eisenberg are both here. And of course, it's a very peaceful day in Celtics land with nothing to complain about. Spooney, how you doing, man?
I wouldn't have it any other way. I love complaining. So I'm ripping ready to go, dude.
Yeah, a bit of fun, fake being mad for a couple days, about something that's not
right
going to, really impact my life that negatively is super fun. Everybody, let's get super mad.
Love to hear it. Jake, you had a chance to exercise some demons on the late night show last night. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. We're good. I'm ready to do the final fury, and then move on and focus on the T-Wolves and the Bucks as we are remaining as the best team in the NBA.
Well, look, before we get going here, a little call to action. Please subscribe to the First to the Floor YouTube channel. We're so close to 3,000 subs. We know there's more than 3,000 of you that like your Celtics content, and we've really hit our rhythm here with a nice suite of Celtics content over the last few months. We've got podcasts, obviously, late night shows, as you saw last night, the Underrated Plays series, which we're about to record after this show, our third iteration of that series. We've got YouTube shorts. We've got everything as well. Subscribe to the audio podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. Leave a 5-star rating and a review. There's all kinds of algorithmic favors you can do for us out there, so please do all of the above. Check out Wayne Spooney's column on Celtics blog, 3 Leaf Clover, this week covering Luke Cornett, the Corn Hub, High Post Fulcrum, DHO Master, as well as Tatum's off-ball movement and why some losses just don't matter. And finally, watch Celtics games with us, over at Celtics blog's Playback Room. All of the links are in the description right now. Check them out. Now, Jake and I fired off some takes on last night's pod. Spooney, you were not there, notably. So before we get to this last 2-minute report, Spooney, what were your general takeaways on last night's loss to the Pacers?
I think the big thing for me, positive-wise, is I thought, the offense looked really good, looked really fluid, looked really clean. Part of that's probably the Pacers are a terrible defensive team, but I think it speaks more to the fact that we have Kristaps Porzingis now, and instead of Jaylen Brown trying to do too much by himself, although he did a lot, but KP makes his role as he ascends to number one, Jaylen does. KP stepping in as the clear number two, takes a ton of pressure off Jaylen, makes things just easier for everybody on the team. KP was moving the ball. He had 7 assists, 8 potential assists, and you don't always get a potential assist when you get an assist. And he had some incredible hockey assists too, or potential hockey assists. He had this one wraparound one-handed pass down low to Holiday, who kicked it to Derek White, and Derek missed the 3. But I just thought he was really comfortable moving the ball. Jake, you said it on late night. He's not been great driving closeouts this season. Thought he did a better job at it last night. So I just really encouraging, this dude just continues to impress me. Everything this team needs, he just is okay, I'll do that this game. You need me to just space the floor and be a decoy. I can do that. You need me to actually take 15 shots, 20 shots. I can do that too. And then defensively, tough matchup, the Pacers for KP. Very tough matchup. That doesn't help when they shoot 48% from 3 or whatever they did. But otherwise, I just thought he looked really great on the offensive end, and I thought we got killed in transition. In fact, we did get killed in transition. 22 transition possessions, 1.36 points per possession for the Pacers. The Celtics, 0.69 points per transition possession, which is friggin' terrible.
Dude.
It'd be us 3 running the 3-man weave in transition against
never a
NBA
good
players. Thing. Yeah. So I thought, and I complain about how we get every team's best shooting night, and we got Indy's best shooting night, but we had one right back, so you can't complain about that. And then just Indy's tough to guard. It felt like our defensive game plan was so intent on stopping Tyrese Halliburton. When he went out, we were like, shit, what the hell do we do now? And we just looked uncomfortable. You guys talked about it a lot. It's why the hell are we in zone when Halliburton's not playing? And it's that was the plan, so we just went with it. So I thought Joe has done an amazing job this season, not his finest game.
That was a takeaway for me as well. From definitely not Joe's best game. The Cornet Al thing against the Pacers, we have the horses to go fast, and go small. Let's do that as opposed to zagging. He clearly trusts Cornet to be in the right spots and do the right things, which technically I guess is true. Cornet was in the right spots. It's just the Pacers were going around the right spots very easily.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, when I'm usually like the offense is the problem, the defense was absolutely the issue last night, and it was the third quarter. They completely let go of the rope once Halliburton went down. It's like if Halliburton stays in the game, I think they win the game. Like they were very locked in defensively in the first 2 quarters, keeping them kind of under 30, and then they give up a 44-point quarter in the third. And then when you're playing a team like the Pacers, you're kind of throwing it to the variance gods at that point, just the way that everybody's playing so fast. And sometimes the Celtics get pulled into it. That's what the Pacers do. They pull you into their carnival style basketball, run, shoot, as opposed to the Celtics, let's take a step, let's enforce our physicality on this Pacers team, where they kind of got pulled into the Pacers game a little bit. And once you're there's so many possessions, kind of anything can happen.
Yeah, and of all the players to get pulled into that style of play, like temporary lead guitarist, lead singer, Jaylen Brown, fulfilling that role, he's absolutely going to get pulled into that mode of playing because he loves it. He loves that style of play. And it was great for the most part, 40 points. It was a sexy Jaylen Brown game, but having a night to sleep on it or to lie awake about it, in my case, the major disappointment is, you go up against certain teams, certain matchups, and they've got those world-bending players, and you go in and you think, geez, how are we going to defend these guys? Whether it be Embiid or Jokic or whoever. And we kind of have that to some degree with Porzingis. And, whenever we went to Porzingis on the switch at the nail, it was just like automatic buckets, or at least an automatic trip to the free throw line. And a little disappointed that we didn't get to that look more. I know it was the JB show, but just that's such an efficient look for the Celtics. And, I haven't looked back at the stats as far as the frequency in which we got to that, but it didn't certainly feel frequent enough at the time when we were losing. And on rewatch as well, it didn't feel like we got to that enough, Spoonie. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely part. I thought we did a really good job of getting to it in the first half, and then kind of went away from it in the second half, and kind of went away from everything that was working, especially in that third quarter. And Jake, I think that's a great point, and especially in the third quarter, it was just hectic, up and down, fly basketball, and that is what the Pacers want to do. Even when McConnell is really good at that style of basketball, and he's just he might be the most underrated player in the NBA, dude. Every time I flip on a Pacers game, he's lighting people up. I watched him blow by Giannis and make a layup on him the other night. I'm like, who is this dude? And I think that also is partly Jaylen taking over that number one role. He's just overstretched as the number one guy, 5 turnovers. We've talked about him and Jayson getting KP those looks at the high post. And, without Tatum, and Tatum, I feel especially recently has been really good at it. And Tatum just gets more defensive attention, so it's an easier pass. And KP usually has more space to operate when Tatum's out there. So without Tatum, you kind of see some of the weaknesses of this is why this guy's our number 2, not the number 1. Even though he was awesome, I don't want to take anything away from Jaylen. But that's on the margins, how you lose a close game. Those are the things that matter.
Mm-hmm. Should we get to it, guys? The last 2-minute report? All right, let's just summarize it very quickly. You can see it up on screen here if you're watching on YouTube. So on the Jaylen Brown shot where he was mashed in the head, my words, not the last 2-minute report's words, the video clearly shows, quote, the video clearly shows Hield makes contact with the ball from behind Jaylen Brown. While in contact with the ball, Hield also makes minimal contact with Brown's head, which has been deemed incidental. And it goes on to say the rule book makes clear the mere fact contact occurs does not necessarily constitute a foul. What am I looking at here, guys? Dude. What am I looking at? This is absolutely insane. And, pair that with how long it took the report to come out. And I know that it doesn't always come out like clockwork at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but this was far later than usual. Jake, we'll go to you first, if you want to recycle any of last night's thoughts, if you've got anything to add, because, this is an extension of how ridiculous it was already last night.
Well, we joked about that referee being in the car on the way back to the hotel or whatever, being like, damn it, I should have just not done that, and everything would have been fine. Yeah, email pops up. That's why the 2-minute report took a little longer to come out. The meeting with Adam Silver on the head of the Cole was like, guys, just reaming them out for an extra half an hour. And they landed on, well, we're just going to pretend like it was incidental and just lie. That's what we're going to do. We're going to lie. There's nothing they can do about it. And we're going to move on. And Celtics are going to play tomorrow and they'll forget about it. But we're going to lie. That's going to be our response. And that's what we're going to do.
So I think the key word, right, incidental is the word that's in the rule book, right? That's the word we're interpreting. Obviously, that's a complete judgment call.
Yeah.
When you review a play where the foul is called,
Yes.
You have the review has the burden of proof. It has to be clear and obvious it wasn't more than incidental contact, right?
Spoken like a true ball man.
I know, this is great.
I know.
This is great.
Like, if you look at that video and say, that is 100% clear and obvious, just incidental contact, you're fucking out of your mind, dude. He hit us in the head, right? Like, if they didn't call it and somehow it was reviewed and they said, you know what, incidental, we're not gonna give award a foul, fine. But that video is not clear and obvious proof that it was incidental contact. It was clearly more than incidental contact on the review. So it just doesn't make sense to me how you can look at that and say, like, this meets the high burden to overturn the call that's on the court. Therefore, we're going to screw the Celtics out of a win. Although Jaylen was going to the line. I know you guys talked about it briefly. But
and during the game,
Well, worst case, it was overtime. And all Jaylen, like, even Jaylen can probably make one. But yeah, Sam in the chat, like, this was just as close to a flagrant as it was to like, closer to a flagrant than incidental. Like, if he hits him with the elbow and Jaylen's like, damn, that actually hurt. Like, if Jaylen flops better, it probably is just, like, not even a question. It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Well, it's led to outrage on a truly international scale. We've got Australian tennis legend Nick Kyrgios here. LOL, umpires and referees lucky to still have a job in any sport, to be honest. We've got LeBron James back home in the States here, siding with the Celtics.
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? JB clearly got hit in the back of the head. They reviewed the play just to reverse it and say he didn't. Man, what? Good ass game to have an ending like that, and you'll see why I'll be going ape shit. I believe I'm interpreting that emoji sequence correctly out there. When it happens, just absurd stuff from LeBron James, and then Jayson Tatum, the much better player in my opinion, quote tweeting the Legion Hoops caption there of the last 2 minute report, saying, "Well, this is some bullshit." But not the first time I fully agree with Jayson Tatum, guys. Any thoughts on the social media attention on this?
I'm just glad that we're all on the same page. We can all see this is clear, obvious. Adam Silver should reverse the game. 29-7 will be the official record of the Boston Celtics. Still 3 losses away from double-digit losses. Yeah, Kyrgios chiming in here, unsurprisingly, taking shots at umpires and referees all over the world, taking the opportunity to expand his range of fire. But yeah, it's and like the rest of the 2 minute report too. I don't know if we're gonna get to that, but like they said the foul on Porzingis was not a foul when it was a foul.
I thought that was a foul.
What are we doing?
So before that, with 2 seconds remaining, apparently Miles Turner actually commits a moving screen on Jaylen Brown on their sort of final offensive possession. And then, with 0.6 seconds remaining, this is per the last 2 minute report, obviously the Porzingis legally contests Ben Mathurin's 3-point shot attempt with, quote, some incidental contact. So corruption at the highest level, guys. Total bullshit. And we should probably leave it there because everything that could be said about it has already been said about it. And before we move on to some very pro Jayson Tatum talk, we're going to get to a quick word from our sponsor.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, but there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use, and there are so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and more. So visit FanDuel.com/Boston and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
This is classic me forgetting to tee up a bet before the game. We talked about not betting the Celtics if that referee, James, what's his name, is ever reffing a game for them again. Spoonie, you got something?
I have a FanDuel shout out, not betting related.
that'll
Someone
do.
tried to access my account. And yeah. So I got an email this morning that said your account is suspended because of too many failed accesses. And it was not me. So shout out to FanDuel and their awesome security. You know your money and your bets are safe with FanDuel, man. So I got to reset it. And then because I went to go look for a bet before this, and I was like, oh, yeah, my account's suspended. But
Wow.
I'm sure it's very easy and simple. Yeah.
Well, that's a better endorsement than anything that we could possibly offer. That's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Aussie Phil, Ben's read, Jake's read. Yeah, I struggle doing the read. I got to redo this thing. I feel like I'm whispering. It took me like 10 attempts to do it. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board and get that one done. Sorry about that, FanDuel. But in unfortunate news, Ja Morant, obviously with the injury, but Grizzlies, Mavs. Oh, it's actually live right now. Is it live? I can't tell on this. Anyway, actually, let's go to Lakers. Raptors plus 4.5. They got like that post-trade bump vibe about them quickly, and RJ Barrett playing well. The Lakers got actually a huge win against the Clippers last night, but I'm not buying it. I think that was a fluke win, and they're back to losing. Raptors plus 4.5. Let's get it.
You see that LeBron like near free throw? Well, it was a good large man's pace in from the free throw line, but that massive dunk.
Dude,
on the Clippers there on Paul George, like he is not 39 years old. Like he is, but he's not the same. He is in a world of his own. Yeah, HGH.
Guys, don't say it too loud because I'm pretty sure Al Horford's on the same stuff. So
No way. He is fully pure coconut water, kale shakes. He is a pure soul and a pure man.
Anytime LeBron does do something, I'm like, it just makes me think of Al Horford's still got plenty left in him.
Oh, yeah.
LeBron going to maintain LeBron standards and Horford maintaining Horford standards.
And he doesn't need to do anything flashy like dunk from nearly the free throw line at age 37 or whatever he is to prove himself. He knows his worth. Chocolate milk, absolutely. Shout out to Sam LaFrance in the chat. This Jayson Tatum guys, he has been incredible. It's been said on so many podcasts and YouTube shows already, but he is staying true to the like long running meme now of like he's basically, I'm not going to quote it directly, but he's ramping up and putting everyone into question, into deep anxiety and misery in my case as to like, wow, is he still got it? Is he still that guy? Can we rely on him down the stretch in the playoffs? Is he going to lead us to a championship? And then the new year ticks over. We get to January and especially February, which excitedly is still to come. And suddenly he's that guy again. We've found him. Spoonie. Like, is that consistent with your experience? And what's your take on like how consistent Tatum's like regular season trajectory is year on year?
It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it really is strange. It's like that first season where he really popped, that Kemba year. I don't think it intentionally went this way, but then I think it was right before the league shut down, those like last month and a half. He was just absolutely insane. I remember he really put his stamp down against the Clippers. He had like 44 and lit them up in overtime. And then since then, it's like, Jason, you can just play well for like 82 games, right, buddy? But no, he just doesn't do it. This is just what he does every year. And it's not his bad is still 27, 8-4, which is still incredible. But
the floor has risen.
Yeah, right. Exactly. He and the floor have risen. So last 7 games, 38.6, 5.7, 49, 44, 85, 65 true shooting percentage, plus 24 net rating, which is just absolutely absurd. And this is the first year he had actually had a negative impact on the net ratings when he was on the court. Not the case anymore. He's like plus 4 on-off differential now. So he's just back to being Jayson Tatum. He's back up towards that top 5 conversation, which I think by the end of the year we will be having.
Yeah, this guy's pretty good. This Jayson Tatum guy. So I've been workshopping this take a little bit. The version of like the best version of Tatum. Like maybe in the playoffs is a slightly scaled down offensive version because he's so good on defense. But I've refined it a little bit here because we've talked a little bit about how Tatum has been coasting at times throughout the regular season, and I think that's true. And the best version of Tatum, because he's as good as he is offensively, and he's one of the best offensive players in the NBA. He's not the same type of offensive player as Jokic, Luka, Shea, like that just money spot on the court or whatever. Still an incredible offensive player. But what makes Tatum great to me is he's good at everything, incredible at everything. Great playmaker, the rebounding, the defense, just across the board. And the thing about that version of Tatum is a lot of that stuff is really hard to do and takes a lot of effort. The best version of Tatum in the playoffs, he's getting to the line 8, 9, 10 times per game. He's grabbing 10, 11 rebounds. And it's kind of anecdotal because it's hard to line this data up, but it's like when Tatum's playing with a physicality like that, you can tell he was playing like this in the Thunder game. You can tell he was playing like this in the Pacers game. He's getting offensive rebounds. He's like really being physical with guys, getting downhill. When he's playing like that, it feels like the outside shots go down as well. Or it's like he gets downhill and that helps the outside shots go in. It's hard to pass those things together, but that's what it feels like. But we don't really want him playing that way all the time. You know, the 10 free throws, because he's at the last 7 games, he's like at the 8 point something free throws, which is up from his like 5.9 on the season, more rebounds. That's a lot to ask, but I like getting glimpses and like the playoff defense against the Thunder. I like getting glimpses of this super, like I call him Andre Karolinko superstar version, like the AK-47 superstar, where he's able to drop 30 plus on you, but he's also like capable of having 3 blocks, 2 steals, and 14 rebounds.
Totally. Where are you guys at with like now the pull-up 3 is going down? It's something that we've been shunning for years now because it's just not an efficient play. And yet, in that first Pacers game when it's just going down and he hits 8 threes or whatever, and I think 6 of them are like just straight up pull up in your face threes. It's a sexy play. You know, I was watching the highlights from your playback stream, Jake, and like it just gets people so excited. It gets you in your feelings, and really it brings out like the most emotion from a fan perspective in terms of watching the game, because it's just such a fuck you. Like there's so much I could do. I'm so big, I'm so strong, I'm so fast, I could score in so many different ways, but like, fuck you, I'm just going to shoot it in your face. And when it goes into that level of efficiency, it's so exciting. And yet, like, for long-term success, we kind of need him to go away from that. So, Spoonie, how have you felt just with the recent sort of uptick in, you know, successful pull-up 3 shooting from Tatum?
Yeah, there's a middle ground, right? And he's just not found the middle ground ever. He's just always shoots a shit ton of them, no matter if they're going in or not. But I trust him enough that when it's going down, dude, just fire away until it stops going down. Yeah, exactly. Like, because it's sort of like when Curry first started hitting those like super deep threes, and it was like, oh, we just can't guard this guy like we guard normal elite guards, right? We just have to do something different. And like, how many 6'9" dudes are hitting step backs at the rate Tatum does when he's feeling it? The answer is probably Kevin Durant. You know what I mean? Like, that's it, basically. And you just can't defend him normally. So, like, they get so scared that he's going to go to the step back. Then he starts getting into those counter moves where he, like, fakes the step back and then just, like, pushes it past. And all the way he's at the rim. He's finishing over length. He's making plays. He's just so absolutely unguardable. And all you can do is double him. And that's what the teams have started to just like straight up double him. The Pacers were just like throwing 2 at him at the end of that game. Like, screw it. We don't care. The rest of your team can play 4-on-3 because we have literally no other answer.
Here's the problem with the pull-up threes is when they're going in, he might be the best player of all time. Like, I like when he has a game like that, game 6 against Milwaukee, like he is just completely unstoppable. And our scout player development friend Eric Weiss seems to think that he's shooting them like with better form, like he's getting more square, the alignment's better. There was a rumbling on the broadcast that Drew Hanlon was around the team right before the Pacers game. Can he always be around the team?
Well, yeah, because then it pulls him away from Embiid and, you know, other high caliber players. Well, I think really the list ends at Embiid because then it's like Bradley Beal and Zach LaVine and players who pose no threat to the Celtics. But get him away from Embiid. Just get him on the staff, just like how we signed Greg Monroe years ago. Get him off any other roster, bring him on board, and just the absence of him anywhere else is a benefit to the Celtics. So, sorry, tangent.
Oh, no. Wow. Did not extend. Ben's been sitting on that one for a while.
I've got some demons.
Get him away. Yeah, like you've got Embiid the MVP. That's as far as you're going to go. Like you've maxed out your accomplishments for Joel Embiid. It's time to turn your attention to someone that can actually win a championship and win in the playoffs. And that's Jayson Tatum. Yeah, it's trying to find that middle ground, which he definitely hasn't. But here's the thing: the team can be so good, and is him taking two? Now we're back to the other side of the pendulum. Is him taking 2 to 3 of the bad pull-ups just worth it? Because if they do go in, then the Celtics are unstoppable. And if they don't, then the Celtics might still be unstoppable. So it might not matter either way. So you may as well just like let him have 1 or 2. It is when they're like sometimes they're just off. You can tell it's just off. And it's like, don't anymore. But then there are some games when it goes in and out on the first 2, and it's like, oh man, it feels like it's right there, and then all of a sudden he's 8 for 14. So yeah, I'm completely torn on it. I'm just going to go back to being like, it's the good kind, and I feel like he's been taking the good kind, and I'm not sure if that's actually any factual evidence to that at all.
Dude, like he's only 25. We might get a season or 2 if we're really lucky, like age 29 season where he just like hits those at like 42%. And it's just like the realized version of Jayson Tatum, just his actual prime. Like we may not even be fully aware of how good it could get. Anyway, let's move on to something, a complete 180 here. And we're very sorry to hear this news. The news about Ja Morant is what I'm talking about. He had a labrum tear and he's getting season-ending surgery. And the result of that, and why it's sort of relevant to this discussion, is that somewhat naturally, a lot of potential Marcus Smart trade talk has come up, and some of the team, and this is all on NBA Twitter and Reddit and stuff. It's not people reporting this, but it's potentially upsetting, I think, for a lot of people, because some of the team names that are coming up in these discussions are the Bucks and the Heat and the Sixers and teams that are, near contenders, if not already contenders, and just need like an extra ball handler or a playmaker or someone with sort of a championship caliber. And the Bucks, I think, is a name that has come up quite frequently, which is hilarious because if you look back through, for example, Nathan Marzian, is that his name? Yep. Yeah, Nate Marzian's Twitter, there's so much Marcus Smart slander. It's ridiculous. And suddenly it's this pendulum swing, this complete 180 of, well, this guy would be perfect and how upsetting it would be for Celtics fans would be amazing. And yet, if you look at Marcus Smart's contract, if you look at the trajectory of the Grizzlies, I think you can make a pretty reasonable call, Spoonie, that it's very unlikely that they would trade Marcus Smart given how soon they expect Ja Morant back, which is as early as the beginning of next season. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first of all, can I just say, like, how much hate has Marcus Smart got from the Bucks, right? Like, the Celtics players live in this bizarre world where they suck, but also Jayson Tatum has the best team around him, and therefore he sucks too, because he has so much help. And then the second they leave, all of a sudden they're like borderline all-stars and amazing players, and oh my God, they're really going to miss Grant Williams. I swear it. That guy was so good. So it's just like, how many times have we seen this exact same reaction where the second somebody leaves the Celtics, they're amazing? But first of all, please don't let him be on the Bucks. He's exactly what they need, and that would be like impossible for me to deal with. But I think Memphis made that trade, right? They gave up 2 first-round picks. That was not we'll see how it goes this year and then maybe flip them for more assets later type of trade. I mean, I think they see him in the long-term plans next to Ja. So unless they blow them away, and all of these teams who would want him don't have any assets to trade anyway, really, certainly not to recoup 2 firsts and I imagine they'd want someone who can at least play a little bit back too. And you have to match his contract, which is difficult as well. So I don't think it's realistic. It's not surprising to me that Bucks fans are, living in a fantasy land where it is realistic to them. Yeah. But I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, Bucks is absolutely not happening at all. They don't have anything besides Bobby Portis, and like and here's the thing about the Bucks young guys, the Marjon Beauchamp, he's 23, and Andre Jackson's 22. Like, they're not these like super young, high upside guys, and they've been okay this season. Like, if they're going to be 23 and 22, you're hoping to see a lot more polish, someone that can actually play a little bit more at that age. So you've got Bobby Portis, one of those two guys, who they kind of actually need those two guys anyway. So they would be losing guys that are playing for them as well if they were to send two of those guys out. And the only draft asset they have is the Blazers' second-round pick, which I think has a little bit of value. But yeah, the Memphis Grizzlies traded 2 first-round picks and Tyus Jones, who has real value in the NBA as well. Like, this is a huge trade for them. They gave up a lot for Marcus Smart. People were like, Brad got a shitload for Marcus. He like completely won that trade. I would be stunned if the Grizzlies trade him at all, unless it's like a blow you away type offer, which the Bucks can't do. The Sixers won't, I don't think. You can't surround Joel Embiid, I don't think, with someone like Marcus Smart. He needs to be a shooter. Mm-hmm. You can't let them have another, like, someone to play off with Joel Embiid. And then the Heat, that would worry me. And they actually have some stuff. But again, I think Marcus is a big part of the Grizzlies' future. Like, Marcus has 2 years left on his contract. Ja's gonna be, it's like a shoulder, like, it's not a hugely concerning injury long term. Like, once it's healed, it's healed. JJJ, Smart, Ja, Bane were playing really good ball. They absolutely want to see this thing through. Quietly, what they should do is like protect Marcus Smart from himself. Sit him down, rest him, tank, get a top 5, top 10 pick. Maybe roll that into another player or draft someone that can play for you over the next couple of years. That's the move, and then you come back reloaded next year.
Well, devil's advocate though, couldn't you trade Marcus Smart, tank naturally because you're getting rid of some talent, and then also bring in a high lottery pick in exchange for Marcus Smart as well? Isn't that maybe the incentive for the Grizzlies?
That would be a true reset though. Like, if you're going to come in and get prospects and then build around that 10th guy, then you're going to be more in a we're still building for the future type mode, where Marcus Smart is like, the Grizzlies were the 2 seed last year and the 2 seed the year before that. Like, they have been like kind of knocking on the door of making the NBA finals. Like, that's where their head's at. Their head is not in, we'll keep collecting assets and yada, yada, yada. They want to win. And they are ready to win with the talent that they have on their team. That would be what I would think. And maybe I'm wearing my Celtics t-shirt and I'm just can't comprehend the idea of Marcus Smart going to one of these teams. But it would surprise me.
And Smart's a known asset, right? Like, exactly what you're going to get out of him on the court. And it just seems extremely risky to me to give all that up for him. And you're right, Jake. The very short period of time that they had John Moran healthy, they looked really, really good. Like, the experiment worked. So it would be, I think, very risky for them to then move him on for young players that they already have tons of young players to develop. They've already got a bunch of lottery tickets that they hope are going to turn into somebody. And look, the NBA moves quick. Bane's like 26, 27 already. Like, he was a really old rookie. So, the clock is ticking. Marcus is locked up for a couple more years. Like, their team is going to eventually get really expensive. So I don't think they'd kick the can down the road. Like, the time is kind of now for them. And Smart's timeline fits them perfectly. This is an unfortunate injury, but yeah, I would be absolutely shocked if they traded him.
Yeah, fair. Absolutely. And there's going to be people in the chat saying, like, this isn't the year to tank. Yeah, the draft this year doesn't sound very good, but like, we already saw it. Like, they're not going to have to worry about purposely or not purposely tanking. They were 10 and 6 and 19 when Ja came back. Like, they're going to get a top 10 pick pretty regardless now. And then that's probably going to hopefully find you a high level role player, someone that you can come in and plug in for the next like 5 years.
And the absence of Steven Adams as well. Apologies if you already mentioned that. He'll be back next year as well.
Exactly.
So lots of talent coming back. This was on Bucks Reddit, which is, in the context of their Reddit page, is like hand in hand Marcus Smart helping Giannis Antetokounmpo. But what you don't realize that if you're watching, listening rather on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, please subscribe, leave a good review. Is it's actually Giannis pulling Marcus Smart down and preventing him from getting back in the play. So it's two guys at odds with each other, not helping one another. So you change the context of a photo, and we see this online all the time, and you put out a completely incorrect and false vibe, which is what Bucks fans are doing. Unsurprisingly, guys, Bucks just a terrible fan base there. Anyway, let's move on. A couple more things to get to, and we want to talk about the best of the worst, which is who's winning the battle at the end of the bench. Because, guys, like to start with this particular individual, O'Shea Brissett has had some promising moments lately, and there's a huge, obvious dig on him in that he can't shoot. If O'Shea Brissett, with the rest of his skill set, and he's like crazy elite offensive rebounding, could shoot, he would probably be starting on a team somewhere, or if not, at least like well entrenched in their rotation. And yet he can't shoot, and that's why we're lucky enough to have him at a minimum contract on the Celtics here. Looking down the list, guys, of these deep bench guys, O'Shea Brissett, Svi Mykhailiuk, Lamar Stevens, Delano Bantam, Spoonie, who is sort of emerging in your mind at this juncture of the season as the most promising of the worst? And I'm sorry to put it that way, but that's what it is.
Do you guys know what Svi is shooting from 3 this year?
Oh,
it can't be good.
Yes.
Is it 27? Like it can't.
No.
Oh no.
Ben.
22?
19% from 3
no,
this season.
Svi! Come on, man.
Dude. He can't shoot. He can't play defense. So that's not ideal for Svi. Lamar, I know you guys are big Lamar guys. We get murdered when he's on the court.
But he's not on the court. So, come on.
I know.
Come on,
super small sample size there. He leads the group in per 36 rebounding and has the highest field goal percentage of that group, so that's good. And the highest per 36 assists because Delano Banton does nothing. I don't know what this dude is good at. I mean, I have no idea. He's I think on his way out of the NBA. So I think it's pretty clearly Brissett to me, +9 net rating. And I think most importantly, Jayson Tatum plays with the bench a ton. You want to have guys who play well next to Jayson Tatum. All of those guys except Brissett have negative net ratings when they share the court with Jayson Tatum. Not great. Brissett +21 net rating when he's on the court with Jayson Tatum. So something's working. That's good. We like that. But pretty slim pickings down here. But to me, it's like Brissett hustles really hard, and he's shooting the best from 3 out of this group somehow. So
amazingly,
somehow.
Hey, he's got the YouTube channel. It's all coming up,
Ben,
O'Shea.
The content.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Jake?
What did Lamar do to Joe to not get it? Because you guys agree he hasn't gotten a real chance to show if he can actually play. Because to me, he actually is the one that's proven that he can contribute on an actually good team more than anybody else. The biggest difference is Brissett is the better shooter, 34% on the career versus Lamar's 28% on the career. So Brissett is the better shooter. But the thing is, no one guards either of them like they can shoot. So it doesn't really even matter because Brissett's shooting 30%, Lamar's shooting 30%. But it's yesterday against the Pacers with the Luke thing, let's try Lamar Stevens as opposed to going to double bigs with Cornette and Al, which are the numbers and the eye test prove that it just does not work, especially against that small team. I don't understand what Lamar Stevens has done to just get no chance whatsoever. I saw someone in the chat theorize tinfoil hat. They're waiting to play him until after the deadline. I don't even know why that would help either way. Does he have more or less value if he's playing? Probably not. But yeah, Brissett and the numbers with Brissett are really good, and he's been good lately. But the job of this player is so easy. To have a good net rating and good numbers on this team is so easy. You're going to be constantly surrounded by Jayson Tatum and Derek White and Al Horford. It's just you don't need to do much. And so Banton, can we get rid of the theoretical label at this point? Because I don't.
I think so. I think the theory has been nullified. He might be the best theoretical player in the NBL or the Chinese Basketball Association or somewhere else. but not in the NBA. It's over. I've tied a bow on that one. I'm done.
Yeah, I think the hypotenuse has run its course. And, so I would say he's probably the most likely because they all got their contracts guaranteed recently, which probably indicates more of a trade than the other way around, honestly.
The Lamar thing, though, like, there have been some serious mysteries in NBA law. Like, what happened with Michael Jordan's retirement in 1993? Yep. What were the circumstances around? Was the commissioner involved in the retirement? You know, what happened with Kyrie Irving in 2019? What really went on behind the scenes there? What happened with Markelle Fultz and the injury? Was it really a shoulder injury or an impingement of some sort? Was it a culture issue within the Sixers? What's going on with Lamar Stevens, guys? I'm putting it in this category. Well, why isn't he playing? Well, yeah, what's going on with the referee? Well, yeah, I put Lamar Stevens and his absence on the court for the Celtics. The most qualified of all the deep bench players, given he played like as a consistent starter on a not too shabby Cavs team only a year ago. Why aren't we seeing more of him? Give him a chance to fail at scale.
Yeah.
You know, at least in small sample size, there's nothing to derive from it.
That give him a chance to fail at scale is like a Trumpism, Ben, in the best way. That is so good. No, in a good way.
I'm in the wrong career.
Yeah. No, but and in defense of Lamar, the only time he's gotten actual real run with good players, he's playing center. Like, okay, that didn't work. That doesn't mean Lamar Stevens can't play the 4 for you. So I'm with you. I would give Lamar more of a shot in those Brissett minutes and just see if he can be better than Brissett. But so far, not so much.
Yeah. I just want to, I'm happy to be wrong. I just don't want to die not knowing. I don't want to be on my deathbed and be like, Lamar Stevens could have been the guy, dude. The wing with size was on the roster. It was always Lamar Stevens. But real question, is it, because I got a stat for you, which I saw today on Twitter. The main Celtics put out a post today after Jordan Walsh goes 5 for 10 from 3 yesterday. His 3-point percentage is now 41.7% in the G League. Is the answer in Maine?
I think they sprinkle some fairy dust along the 3-point arc in the G League or something because it never translates, right?
Sam Hauser.
Yeah, that's true. But more realistically, like I think he's doing well. He's succeeding. You don't need to rush him into another environment. Like let him excel for longer. Walshy, that's right, Heisenberg. Spoonie, any thoughts? We rush him over to Boston?
Why the hell not? Give him 2 weeks. See what happens. Right?
Come on. Yeah.
I love it.
Look, has Brad nailed the development of Cornette and Hauser by putting them in the G League and turning them into rotation players? Yes. Do we know better? And do we want Walshy on the court immediately to ruin his development? Also, yes. So let's get him out there.
It would do that. It would delay it massively.
Richard developed on the court. Like some guys can develop on the court. Yeah, he was a 5th-year senior at Oregon. That's besides the point.
I think he repeated a couple of years in elementary school as well. Anyway, look, let's end on this, guys. We're just the deep bench conversation. We put it on the run sheet every now and then because it feels important over stretches where we're missing guys, namely Jayson Tatum. But it never makes me feel good. We never leave this conversation thinking, well, this guy's promising. It's not an embarrassment of riches. It's quite the opposite. But guys, let's end on this. The upcoming schedule, we're in the thick of it now. We've had a couple of challenging games recently, but we've got the Timberwolves, who are currently, I believe, if the score is held up here, thrashing the Orlando Magic right now. We play them in Boston tomorrow, but their starters look to be coming into that game well rested, given it's a blowout there. And then we've got the Bucks on the road there in Milwaukee, and then the Rockets. Ime Udoka makes his return to TD Garden. So Spoonie, I guess starting with the Wolves game tomorrow, and we'll run through it here. What are your thoughts on this upcoming schedule for the Celtics?
I feel like this is quick 3-0, and I think against the Wolves, the only reason the Wolves beat us is because we were ice cold from 3. The shootings come around. We're shooting the ball a lot better. I think we make a statement against the Wolves. I feel like the Bucks, they can't guard us. They'll probably shoot amazing like everybody does against us. Close game, maybe similar to that Thanksgiving Day game. And then I do not believe in this Rockets team. I know they just beat the Bucks. I watched a lot of that game. Like, they're fun. Sengun's fun. But, I don't know. Something about them, it just feels kind of smoke and mirrors to me in a lot of ways. So I think we'll pretty much outclass the Rockets at home. Are you guys, I don't know how to feel about Udoka coming back.
Yeah, I've been wondering, is he going to get booed? Is he going to get standing ovation? I'm guessing no on the tribute video. That's probably a no-go.
Yeah.
But I actually have a question for you. So if the Celtics had won the title in the finals against the Warriors and the same stuff happened, I wonder if he's still the coach.
Yeah. I don't know. Brad seems like he doesn't play with that type of shit, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Like, I feel like Danny would have just been like, well, let's pump the brakes here a little bit. But I don't know, man. That's tough. But, yeah, maybe they just make him sit out the year like the Red Sox did with Alex Cora when he got cheating. They're like, yeah, he's gone for the year, but he'll be back. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think he'll get booed. And I've talked about this. Yeah, just because he let us down, right? Like, we were one big happy family. And then he, obviously encroached on at least one female individual's life within the team more than, he overstayed his welcome. That's a bad way of putting it. He committed an egregious offense that is unforgivable. And if what the rumors say are true, I'm glad he's gone because, we just can't have any part of that in our culture or really any work or corporate environment. I'm sort of surprised he's been employed elsewhere. And in doing that, he obviously let down that individual massively, but he let down the players in the team as well because in committing that offense, he had to go, right? So I think he'll be booed on that front. And then it helps that we've been great kind of since as well, especially this year. And we have a sort of certain confidence behind us in our detraction of and booing of Ime Udoka as well. So I'll be really surprised if he's not booed. But also, just going back to how do you feel about his return? I feel kind of dirty and weird about it because it's such a complicated, dirty situation. And I wish we kind of just didn't have to see him, if I'm being honest. I don't want to see him. I'm offended by his presence and his face, to be honest.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm kind of I'm kind of interested to see how everybody interacts because it's going to be here's the problem: it's going to be a big love fest between Tatum, Udoka. That's the thing.
I know, which just makes it worse for the fan. I think.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it is what it is, and all the reporting and stuff. Was it nothing illegal or anything happened? So it's the players. A lot of the players clearly, I don't think, just agreed with him being gone, and so Tatum's any chance he gets, he's two things. One, Ime, my favorite coach of all time. Two, Al Horford, my favorite teammate of all time.
Yeah.
But the first one is kind of semi-problematic with the situation we're in here. But
well, it's complicated, right? Maybe we should leave it there. We don't have all the facts.
How about those Timberwolves?
Yeah, we know he's gone for a reason. Yeah, those Timberwolves. Look, I just think that we'll beat the Wolves because they beat us in such a fashion last time we saw them that this will be a motivated, healthy team, somewhat well-rested. KP, we just played those 2 games against the Pacers. He had basically one of them off. His eye might be sore, but his lower extremities hopefully are feeling good. Tatum's going to be back with his after his ankle sprain management situation. He's going to be feeling good and rested as well. This team is going to be motivated to beat this Wolves team, and even if they didn't have that recent history this regular season, the top seed in the West, they're just going to be motivated to beat a team that's at that same level of contendership, if that's a word. I'm predicting a win here for the Celtics.
Ooh, I like that. It'll be interesting to see what happens with the injury report because Drew questionable with the elbow sprain again, which is surprising to me that's kind of popped back up. How does this right elbow sprain go away, come back? Al Horford questionable with an illness, Porzingis right knee contusion. Are they getting ready to load up to win the Bucks game? Because the Bucks game, for the purpose of the standings, is far more important than the Timberwolves game. If you win this Bucks game, that could honestly be the securing the 1 seed right now. Because Joel Embiid looks like he's going to be out tomorrow. They're not going to be pushing for the 1 or the 2 seed. He's not going to play enough games. They're kind of starting to crumble a little bit, and the Celtics are winning too many games to be to fall back 5 games without catastrophic injury. But if you win this game against the Bucks, that gives you 2 wins, which means you only got to go 1 and 2 in the next 2 against the Bucks to get the tiebreaker. Plus, that gives you a 4.5 game lead over the Bucks, which is just going to make it tough for them to catch him. So, like, would you consider resting Horford and Porzingis against the T-Wolves? Or is this just purely they're actually sick? Aaron Nesmith probably coughed in Al Horford's mouth at the free throw line, and the attempt to blind Porzingis didn't go well enough. He avoided being blinded, so he came in with a crowbar on the bench and fucking went after Porzingis' knee next. It's just like, yeah. So I don't know what to believe.
Yeah, I think you've got to have Al for that Bucks matchup. I think you've got to do whatever you have to do, which if history tells us anything, you've got to rest him against the Wolves here, because he is just so good against the Bucks, and I think he's in their heads a little bit just because of how typically dominant he's been against them in recent years. So, and I like to see Al go against a team like the Bucks, and especially there's a little bit of a sense of like kick them while they're down. Like, they're terrible right now, so like let's see a relatively full strength Celtics go up against that team, and when seeding's a factor, as it isn't against the Wolves, like you said there, Jake. I think that's really important. I don't know, any closing thoughts, Spoonie, before we wrap this one up?
No, agree with all of it. 3-0, feeling good. Let's go. Wolves are on a tough back-to-back. They're like traveling tonight too, like right where we want them.
That's bad.
From Orlando, it's a long flight going from the warm weather to the cold weather. That's huge.
There's a foot and a half of snow on the ground when I left, so there you go.
Looks like the Magic have at least made it close enough where the T-Wolves still have their starters in. So, like, Towns has now played 30 minutes. Edwards is in foul trouble earlier, so he's only at 20 minutes right now. But they're all have at least played 20 plus. Towns at 30 minutes. Not good for my same game parlay, that's for sure, with Edwards foul trouble. But
shout out FanDuel.
Shout out FanDuel. I'm calling 2-1. I called 3-2 in this 5-game stretch of Jazz, Pacers, Bucks, T-Wolves. So right now we're 2-1. Should be 3-0, really, frustratingly. So just got to go 1-1 here. All right, well, look, shout out everyone in the chat. This was a lot of fun. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for joining us. Please subscribe to the First of the Floor YouTube channel. Leave a comment, 5-star ratings, all that good stuff. We'll be back in the next few days with more pods, more late-night shows, hopefully to celebrate the Celtics beating the Wolves and the Bucks. Spoonie, Jake, love your work, guys. Until next time, go Celtics. I love